know we have 25 folks still in line, so, but we'll get started and they can join us in the front row.
That's the price they pay.
Hi, good evening. It's May 5th. We're at Mohawk School, and I'm your moderator, Phoebe Walker, and you elect me to make sure that these meetings are productive and polite and conducted according to our rules, which come from our bylaws and from this book, Town Meeting Time. Before we start the proceedings, there's a fair amount of getting oriented to do, but I want to draw your attention to a piece of important business we do every year, which is the dedication of the town report. I hope that you got a copy of the town report when you came in. It has a huge amount of information in it about the work of all the town's staff, boards, and committees. And this year's town report is dedicated to former select board member Zach Turner, who we lost far too soon. And I'd like to invite select board member Clint Phillips to read a dedication.
The town of Buckland has a long history of dedicating this annual town report to members of the community, both past and present. These folks are not just residents of the town of Buckland. These are people that went above and beyond for the people of this great town. That is why this year the Buckland Select Board have chosen to dedicate this report to Zachary Turner. I've had both the privilege and the honor of growing up with Zach. Not only did we cause mischief together in our youth, but we played sports together all through elementary and high school at Buckland, Shelburne, and Mohawk. We both shared the same love for this community and the people that live here. I knew Zach his entire life. It didn't matter how long we spent apart, we always picked up right where we left off, with a hug and a smile. That was always his demeanor. It was how we were raised, and it was who he was as a person. It especially shined when you watched him with his family, talking about his brother or sisters, or bragging about all of his nieces and nephews. Zach was always the person you could turn to when you needed anything. Zach was a person that wanted to make everything better around him. He was a true leader. He was a person who saw a need and filled it, no matter the cost, and asked for nothing in return. This was not just true for his family and friends. This was for anyone in his community, and even a complete stranger he had just met. Zach's superpower was to give and to help, and he did it every day without fail. When Zach graduated, he began giving back to this community through coaching. He coached both the Mohawk ski team and middle school football. He then took on Buckland Shelburne Youth Baseball president role to help the program and continue to grow. It didn't matter what tasks the league needed, whether it was flipping burgers at the concession stand or fundraising for field improvements, he did it. Outside of sports, Zach was a member of the Shelburne Falls Fraternal Order of the Eagles. He would help serve community meals at the Trinity Church and served as the chair of the Buckland Select Board. Zach did anything and everything he could to make this town a better place to live for everyone. For anyone who has been a part of this community and gotten involved in some program, whether it be school, sports, or community events, I didn't think there was one person that had not heard Zach's name with some sort of involvement. In closing, I would like to say to Zach's family, you should be very proud of the person that he was. I believe that he achieved his goal in the short time he was with us. I truly do think that Zach left a lasting impression on this community. I know that I, for one, will always be grateful for the work that he did and for being part of the life he lived. Thank you.
Thank you, Clint. People who are still coming in, you can come down and go around. You don't have to sit in the front section. But you can also, you would be warmly welcome to be the person I can see in the front section. Okay, we're going to get started. This is an open town meeting. All Buckland residents of all ages are encouraged to participate. Hello to the baby who came. Thank you for being here. And I just want to remind us what we're doing here. Alexis de Tocqueville visited our country many years ago and praised small town governments of Massachusetts for the way that they bred active democracy. And he basically had an analogy that town meeting is to democracy like school is to science. It's where you put it within reach of people and you make people taste it and use it and get used to it. So that's what we're here to do. We're here to get used to being a democracy and actively taking part in one. So from that very highfalutin start, let me just say that the bathrooms are near the front door, and so is the water. We have a lot of thanks to the folks from Mohawk who made us welcome here today, especially Todd Damaris, to Don and Otis Wheeler from Falls Cable, from the Mohawk Music Department for our microphones, and our tellers, Dina Wilmore, Kim Klein, and Ben Murray, who are helping with counting during the meeting, and Anya McMillan for signing people in. You all have a bunch of handouts. So again, I want to just remind you that we're going to be referring to this thing quite a bit, okay? So when you open it up, please open it up now. You'll see a table of contents. You've got a couple pages on how town meeting works, and you've got a couple pages of definitions, both the definitions of the parliamentary procedures and also definitions of financial terms. Come on down and go around, or come and sit in the front. On page 6 begins the Finance Committee's report to our town. And we're going to hear a little bit from our Finance Committee chair about that. But there's a great amount of detail there that I think will be important to you in thinking. The Mohawk pages begin on page 13. There's a couple page overview there from the Mohawk District. And you then have 7 pages of information from the tech school, from 15 to 22. Then, I'm going to just tell you that when we get to the actual budget, we will be working a lot with page 24 and 25 and 26, which is our operating budget. Come on down and you can come around, or you can sit in front. You're welcome to move around. Yeah, I'm getting there. Yeah, yep, totally. And I would now like to introduce the individuals seated at the table beside me. We've got over here our select board, Joan Livingston, Larry Wells, and Clint Phillips. We have our town administrator, the fabulous Pam Guyette. We have our wonderful town clerk, Alicia Graves, and we have the finance committee, Larry Langford, Paula Consolo, Abby Strauss, Bruce Lessels, and Bob Dean. So that's who we'll be hearing from up here, but we also hope to be hearing a lot from you. I want to point out that anybody seated here is not able to vote. So if you, this is for folks who have come to observe or participate but are not voters of the town of Buckland. The way that the town meeting rules work is that we need to vote to hear from them. So if we have questions for the Arms librarian, Lori Wheeler, or Julia Moreno from the West County Senior Services District, I would like you now to say that that's okay. All those in favor of hearing from them, if we have questions, say aye. Aye. We only get to say aye twice in this whole night, so that's one of them. Okay, and also joined over there, we have some folks who are just interested from the school in listening to what we're doing, and Johnny Deppen from the recorder, just so you know who's here with us. Okay, so that's who's here. Let's talk about the rules. If you want to speak to a particular article, I want you at one of these microphones. And wait until I recognize you, and then state your name and your street, and then you can speak. Our bylaws technically allow for 10 whole minutes of talking, but I will freak out if you try to do that. So keep yourself to about 3 minutes. We are going to be timing you over here, and 3 minutes is what I'm going to be asking you to hold to. And when you're speaking, it's important to remember that we're here to speak on a very specific set of agenda items, right? Our warrant. And that's the only thing you can speak to. You can't speak about something that isn't on our article, isn't an article on our warrant today. You need to be polite and based in fact. You can't speak twice on an article until everybody else who wanted to speak has had a chance to speak on it. And if you want to change anything that is in this warrant, you need to submit a written amendment to me just as soon as humanly possible. Please don't decide to amend something and then start thinking about how it should be written. So if you've got something you want to change, please write it down. We do have right here nice paper forms for you to say what you want to say, but you're welcome to do it on anything that's in your wallet. Take it in any form as long as it's written. Let's see, what else? Just a couple more things. Please be patient with your neighbors. We only do this once a year, really. And as local officials, we want everyone to understand what they're voting on and how the process works. You might know a whole lot more than someone else about how it works, but that doesn't make you get to have it your way. So please don't move the question before people are done discussing an issue. And finally, note that paper ballots can be requested but are subject to a vote of the meeting. So there's a bunch more rules even, believe it or not, in your book, but go ahead and look at them yourself if you'd like. Enough about us. Now, on to you. Stand up if you have served on a committee or a board in the past year. Ahem.
Really?
Great. Got to, limber up here, people. And stand up if this is your first town meeting. Woohoo! Well, we're so very glad that those of you whose first meeting it is are here. All right, we're going to start our meeting with our traditional fiscal overview, and then we'll get to voting. So I'm going to turn over to our Finance Committee Chair, Larry Langford, for a little state of the town. Take it away, Larry. Thank
you, Madam Moderator. In your town meeting booklet on page 6, you'll find a memorandum from the Finance Committee. I highly recommend that if you're an insomniac or an accountant. But in the tradition of Wes Rice, who I see over there, let me offer a shorter version of what it contains. As probably all of you are aware from reading the newspapers, if we still read newspapers, we are caught up in a fiscal crisis affecting almost all the towns in Massachusetts, hit by a combination of higher costs and continued flat growth in revenues. This year, as in years past, Buckland's total operating revenues are projected to increase by a modest 3.5% over last year. This is a chronic revenue problem we've been talking about for decades, and therefore not likely to change much. Once again, state funding has been and remains flat, 0.2% increase over last year. We don't have a local income tax. Local sales taxes are restricted to very limited levies on all our hotels and meals, and motor vehicle excise taxes are minimal and fluctuate each year. All of this leaves the property tax as our overwhelming source, 90% of our revenue. As you'll read in the memorandum, our flat revenues have been significantly exceeded by increases in our operating expenses, up 9.5% over last year, which results in this FY27 budget that contains a deficit. Let's take a look at these expenses. On page 23, you can see how Buckland's operating expense budget, the general fund, has two primary components: what we spend on general expenses and what we spend on school assessments. General expenses this year are $2.75 million. That's 43% of the general fund. These include all our town services. The other 57% of the general fund includes the school assessments for the Mohawk Regional Trail School District, Franklin County Technical School, and Smith Folk. As you see on page 25, Mohawk's combined assessment is 90% of our school assessments. It alone, therefore, makes up 51% of the total general fund. I would add that while the assessments from Franklin Tech and Smith Voc are not insignificant, any line item in any budget anywhere that comprises half the total is worthy of understanding carefully. From the Finance Committee's perspective, the Mohawk budget is like the rural communities it serves. It has been and continues to be hurt badly by a chronic revenue problem that has worked against them for decades, which in turn has had a negative impact on our budgets. Simply put, the system for allocating state funding for Massachusetts K through 12 public schools, specifically the Chapter 70 funding formula, needs to be overhauled. It is, for example, enrollment-based and ignores the issue of population density, and as a result has therefore for decades punished high-cost districts with declining enrollments like Mohawk, a district that spans over 250 square miles. There's a chart in the memorandum on page 8 that shows an ever-widening gap between what Mohawk gets and what it costs to run the district. Unless the state changes its funding formula, that gap will simply keep on widening. Pay attention to the big red arrow on that chart. The way that gap gets closed every year is from the district town's property taxes. But wait, there's more. As if those expense issues weren't enough, looking ahead to next year, we can identify at least 3 potential financial problems that will need to be addressed, which we factored into our planning for this year's budget. First, it's highly unlikely that the state legislature will act quickly, in this case, as to making any changes in how it allocates school funding. Hence, we foresee the FY28 Mohawk operating and transportation assessments likely to continue their past trends and can very likely increase by at least 5%. In addition, the 2D8T, I call it the R2D2, the 2D8T sustainability project currently underway includes a construction renovation feasibility study that we will vote on next year. The actual construction and or renovation costs, if approved, would be in the FY29 budget. Second, as you may be aware, Franklin Tech has announced plans to build a new school building to the tune of $236.6 million. Yeah. In a nutshell, if the vote on October 6th by the residents of all 19 member towns were to pass, a vote that would enable Tech to borrow the necessary funds for this project, Buckland's share of that total cost, which is 2.85%, would mean we would incur a capital expense of over $250,000 a year, every year for the next 30 years. I won't be with you, but good luck. Aww. That's in addition to their operating assessment, which, like Mohawk's, is more than likely to be greater than their current assessment of $333,000. Third, we were alerted a month ago that the DEP is looking at landfills in Massachusetts, believing that they are by now, and or soon will be, leaching chemicals, possibly including PFAS, into the underlying groundwater. Buckland has been inspected, and PFAS has been identified. We are now required by DEP to conduct additional testing in the months ahead. This inspection and possible remediation will cost anywhere from $30,000 to over $300,000. We don't know. So let me summarize the situation. Buckland's 9.5% increase in expenses exceeds its continued slower growth and creates a budget deficit for FY27. In addition, 3 known fiscal threats compound our dilemma. As such, unless we fill our reserves as called for in the proposed FY27 budget, we will be unprepared to meet the costs that we foresee. Resolving this dilemma confronts us with a very difficult choice to make. On the one hand, shall we preserve important services by the town by passing this budget, thereby approving a Proposition 2.5 override to cover that deficit, and to reinforce our reserves? Or, on the other hand, shall we balance this budget by making dramatic cuts to town services and take our chances with regard to those foreseeable fiscal threats? Let's begin by looking at the first option, starting with what an override to Proposition 2.5 means. This is detailed in the memorandum on page 11, but what it essentially means is that if a town meeting votes to spend more than the town can expect to collect in revenues, as this budget would have us do, then an override of the Massachusetts law nicknamed Proposition 2.5, because it limits the growth in the town's tax levy to 2.5%, is required in order to cover that deficit. If the proposed FY27 budget is approved at town meeting tonight, then a question would be placed on the ballot for the voters at the annual town election on June 2nd, asking whether or not to approve an override of Proposition 2.5 in the amount of $500,000. If the town votes at that time to approve this override, then the town can proceed to fund its operating expenses, education expenses, and capital and debt expenses for FY27, and importantly, would be able to put money into its depleted reserve accounts, funds that would enable us to better withstand the known and unknown fiscal threats. If the budget passes tonight and the override of $500,000 is approved, based on the DOR calculations, it would create an estimated new tax rate of $18.27 per $1,000 of assessed value on real and personal property. That means a house valued at $350,000 would have its taxes go up by an estimated $530. So let's take a look at the second option, the one where we balance the budget by making dramatic cuts to town services and letting the chips fall where they may regarding FY28 and beyond. First, the components of the general fund shown on pages 24 through 26 of the book include many of the visible things in town, like the libraries, the recycling center, the rec center, and all could potentially be impacted. But let me be very clear to avoid any confusion. No decisions have been made yet on where to find the $375,000 we would need to find to balance the budget. But in the event that the second option prevails, then those decisions would need to be made before June 30th. Second, in addition to making dramatic cuts to balance the budget, it's quite likely we would all be here again during the coming fiscal year for additional funds in the event that any of those three fiscal threats come to pass. Also, it's quite likely that we'd be all here again next year at this time to fund the projected FY28 budget, which at that time would most likely be for an even larger amount than is being sought now for FY27. So that's it.
Okay.
Before turning back to our moderator, let me utter your two favorite words. In closing, what I think is great about a town meeting is every year we get to come together to talk, debate, and then finally decide, in essence, through our policies and our budgets, what kind of town we want to have for the coming year, and also based on those decisions for the years that follow. Sometimes these choices are easy. Tonight is a dramatic example of how difficult they can be. The decision is ours. Thank you, and now I'll turn it back to the moderator.
Thank you, sir. I have noticed that a number of you who came in towards the end don't have the blue book, which will make this hard for you. And I wonder if some of our finance committee members here could share. You don't need yours?
Give it up.
You raise your hand if you don't have it. Can you come get this? I have to run this meeting. Okay. So here's one. Up there with the yellow shirt. Yeah. Anybody else? Wendy, you have it? Okay. All right. Pam Roberts, you are sitting in a place where people who are not Buckland residents sit. So if you can just sit anywhere else up front or anywhere, just so that your vote will be counted. Okay, thanks. Anybody else missing the blue book? Okay, I think we're good. Okay. All right, here's another one. Oh. Okay, we are going to get started. Since now everyone has a copy of the warrant, we're not going to read the long articles, and we're not going to have the select board members read the long articles either. I'm just going to ask for a motion to move the article, which is the agenda item on our warrant here, and then we'll open the article for discussion. It's pretty complicated night we have ahead of us, as Larry just laid out, and so we're going to begin with a consent motion, which is basically a parliamentary move to combine a whole bunch of very uncontroversial things and get them out of the way so we can just get to the hard stuff. So we're going to move a whole batch of traditionally things that no one has ever cared or voted no on. If you want something pulled out of the list I'm about to read you, just raise your hand, we'll pull it out. It's no big deal. And then we will put it back into its order in the warrant. You'll see that it exists in both places. So I'm just going to say that this first article, which is our consent calendar, is to see if the town will combine the Article 2 about town reports, 3 about elected official salaries, 13 about the wastewater plant audit and reed bed maintenance accounts, 15, which is payment on borrowing for town hall renovations and highway garage building, and 16, which is putting a whopping $1,000 into retiree benefit savings. So those are the ones we're combining. Does anybody have a problem with combining those? Okay. Yeah, the numbers are right. Oh, you probably know, you don't have it. Yeah, it's Articles 2, 3, 13, 15, and 16. And now, okay, would one of you like to make that motion?
Ms. Moderator, I move that the town vote to take Articles 2, 3, 13, 15, and 16 out of order in this warrant and to approve all of them as one vote without debate on any such articles, and further that the motions for each article be incorporated into this consent motion as follows.
Thank you. Is there a second? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. All those in favor of the combination of these articles, please raise your card. Okie doke. Great. You can put it down. All those opposed? All right. The consent calendar passes, which means you flip ahead now to the budget. Article 4. So we've now talked quite a bit about the Blue Book, but again, if you were coming in, the Finance Committee's memo is on page 6. The budget page itself is on 24. The sources of where the money comes from is on page 29. And I will entertain a motion on Article 4.
Ms. Moderator.
Yes, Mr. Phillips.
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,698,149 to fund the town operating budget for fiscal year 2027 as light item appropriations and as shown in the table below.
Is there a second from the select board? All right, thank you. Okay. So I want to have you turn to page 24. The article has been made and seconded, which means we're talking about the budget. Someone has ended up with my version with a lot of writing in it. Is that any of you? Okay. Well, we're going to wing it. Okay.
Joan seconded it.
You mean 34?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh.
No, it's okay.
Oh, no. 24?
Page 24. Yeah, open to 24. So just going to walk you through it again. The first section is general government. That does not include the moderator stipend, the select board stipend, or the town clerk stipend. You already just voted on those. But everything else in this general government section, you can see around the select board's office, the tax title office, assessor's office, buildings and grounds, all of that is in the general government. And the way this operating budget page is, you can see the sort of light blue that is what was spent in FY 2025. In FY 2026 is gray, what we spent on this last year as a group. In teal is, I'm sorry for my colorblind friends, FY 2027 requests. And then the green, the bright green, is what the Finance Committee recommended. It then shows you the difference between what is being requested this year and what was funded in the current fiscal year that we're in. And then the Finance Committee's change, and then the percent change. So that's how those columns work. So the first section is around the general government. You can see that's about $650,000. Next section is protection of persons and property. That's at the top of page 25. Sort of middle top. So you can see it says protections of persons and property. You've got police, emergency management, animal control, etc. We're not voting on the education section that you see right under that in this warrant article. That's a different warrant article. So the protection of persons and property is around 500,000. Then you can see public works is again sort of the middle to bottom of page 25. That's about $853,000, and you can see that that's made up of highway salaries and all that winter expenses that we experienced this year. The next section is called Human Services and includes Animal Inspector, Board of Health, Senior Center, and Veteran Services. I've now flipped onto page 26. And the total of that is $171,000. Culture and Recreation includes the 2 libraries, the rec department, and some events. And that comes to $143,000. And then the final section is Insurance and Retirement, which comes to $379,651. So there you have it. If anyone has any questions, come to a microphone. Okay, I'm waiting the 8 seconds that teachers are supposed to do. Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of this budget, raise your hand. Raise your card. Okay, you can put your card down. And now, anyone opposed, raise your card. Okay, the budget passes unanimously. And we will move on to number 5, where there's actually going to be no motion and no action because we learned from our lawyers that we need to do this one slightly different. So you can skip Article 5. And we're now going to move on to Article 6, the Mohawk Trail Regional School District Assessment. If you wanted to look at that same place on page 24 to see what you're voting on, on 25, you can see the section that says Education. And all of the different school district amounts are listed there, middle of page 25. Someone like to make a motion on the Mohawk budget?
Ms. Moderator?
Yes.
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,291,919 for the Mohawk Trail Regional School District Operating Assessment for fiscal year 2027 as a line item appropriation.
Thank you. Is there a second? Ms. Livingston? Okay. Thank you. School Committee Representative Martha Thurber.
I'm Martha Thurber.
Uh-oh. Yeah?
Yes, it is. Okay.
Oh, yeah. You got to tilt it or something. Yeah.
Ice cream cone is what Buzz Eisenberg said at the national town meeting.
Louder.
Okay. I think I can do this without a mic better than with it.
No, you
Okay.
can't.
I'm Martha Thurber, 7 Charlemont Road. I'm your representative to the Mohawk Trail School Committee from the town of Buckland, one of them. I am also the chair of the Mohawk Trail School Committee. I'm going to just speak for a few minutes about the budget, hopefully not more than 10.
Yeah, we can't hear you
Okay,
very well.
I don't think this is working. Okay.
Yeah!
How about that? Ice cream cone it is. So let me just acknowledge that this is a terrible budget year for Buckland and also for Mohawk Trail. The district is facing the same types of increases in fixed costs that Buckland is facing. And the school committee and the administration have worked hard to come up with what we hope is a workable budget. As we started our process in November, Mohawk Trail was facing fixed cost increases of $2.7 million, principally from benefits and insurance. The increase was about $800,000. Special education out-of-district tuitions and transportation was up over $1 million. and contractual increases in salaries was up $800,000. As we worked through our budget process, we had valuable input from Finance Committee members from several towns, including Paula Consolo from our committee, who was at every single budget meeting. And by scrutinizing all of our operating lines, we were able to save some, but not enough. In the end, we're forced to bring you a budget that includes laying off 21.5 full-time employees. This is hard, it's horrible, and no one is happy about it. In the end, we're proposing a budget that's up 6.24%. Buckland's operating assessment is up about 9.9 or 300,000 over last year. About 70,000 of that comes from the increase in Buckland's required minimum contribution, which the state controls, not us. Buckland's proportion of students attending Mohawk Trail schools has also increased, which also pushes Buckland's assessment up. So why is the budget and our assessment up so much? In addition to the fixed cost increase I mentioned, state education aid remains virtually flat. We expect an increase of about $100,000 over last year. Indeed, the last 20 years, the average annual increase in state aid, Chapter 70, for Mohawk Trail was less than 1/4% per year. Secondly, the district has had less in offsets to contribute this year. Offsets are revenues from things like grants and revolving funds. Between 2020 and 2024, we were able to judiciously use the COVID funding we received from the federal government to help fund some of our operating lines, which allows us to build up our reserves somewhat and to use these reserves to offset town assessments. Last year, we were able to use about 1.7 million of revolving funds. This year, we could use only 1.1 million to help offset assessments. Federal grant funding is also down for the coming year. So what are we doing to improve our financial stability? We continue to aggressively lobby the state for equitable funding for rural school districts. I am a member of the Rural Schools Committee of the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, which has recently come out in full support of the $60 million in annual rural aid that was recommended by the legislature's own Rural Schools Commission. Our superintendent, Cheryl Stanton, is on the Mass Association of School Superintendents Executive Committee and head of their Rural Caucus. And we have both been lobbying extensively. I've spent several days in the last 6 weeks on Beacon Hill, testifying before various legislative committees and meeting with legislators. I like to think that there is slow progress being made. This year's, the latest budget, which came from the Senate today, was out with 20 million in rural aid versus 12 million last year. But there aren't any guarantees. Last year, they started out with 16, and by the time the budget was all put and done, we were down to 12, a 25% decrease from the year before. We are up against much more powerful forces in Eastern Mass, but we will continue to fight for rural school aid. But that can't be the only thing we do. So we're moving ahead with our 2-district, 8-town sustainability work to try and restructure our operations in a way that's more efficient and offers more opportunities for students. You've got a flyer about that, which I hope you picked up on your way in. While this topic is not on our meeting agenda, I bring it up because it directly relates to how we can relieve the burden of educational costs on Buckland and other towns. I also bring it up because you all need to know about it. You need to know where to find information about it, and most importantly, how to participate in this process. The Project Steering Committee and the Mohawk Trail and Hall-Lamont school committees have voted to continue exploring the option of consolidating all of our elementary schools on the Mohawk Trail campus. Our current work focuses on addressing critical questions like educational programming, transportation, and the economic and social impact on our towns. We also begin to work this summer with the Mass School Building Authority to explore options and potential costs for new construction or renovations that will enable the consolidation. While we don't know the estimated costs, I can assure you that we will not be recommending a massive project that costs more than our small towns are able to afford. I urge all of you to keep up to date on these efforts and to participate whenever and however you can, because it ultimately will be up to town voters to decide. Mohawk Trail and Hall-Lamont regional districts, as presently organized and operated, are not financially sustainable. 5 school districts to educate about 800 schools. 5 separate schools to educate about 800 students. So we need to decide whether to stick with what we have or to do something different. And we need to decide this together. We need to decide what we want our schools to look like, not just next year, but for the next 20 to 30 years, or events will decide that for us. So I don't want to end this without giving you some positive news about Mohawk Trail. Academically, we offer about 10 advanced placement courses on a rotating basis. There were 72 exams that were given last year, and students got a score that qualified them for college credit. 62% of our 12th graders got at least one AP test, and 35 took at least one, our juniors took at least one, and they all earned an average score of 3.1. Our environmental science AP, they scored 82%, scored a 3% or higher, and our AP biology, 91% of test takers scored 3 or higher. This year, we have 89 students rather than 71 who are taking the tests, so that's terrific for them. The average SAT score at Mohawk Trail is 1,181 for the 2 tests, leading the College Board to recognize our students with several awards, including a National First Generation Recognition Award, a Rural and Small Town Recognition Award, and 3 School Recognition Awards. Our seniors are going to colleges like Bard, Fairfield University, Grinnell, Tufts, Greenfield Community College, Keene State, and the University of Utah, among others. We offer our kids a wide variety of internship and work-study opportunities in such areas as vet tech, auto mechanics and repair, architecture and landscape design, as well as college classes through GCC. The district also offers robust opportunities in the arts. Both Mohawk Trail and BSE offer terrific music and chorus programs, and in fact, on Thursday night in this building, you can come at 7 o'clock to enjoy Band Together, where musicians from all schools across our district will perform with the Shelburne Falls Military Band.
Oh,
Mohawk Trail also hosted the Franklin County School Band Festival in March. Our art students exhibit their work at Mocha Maya, and BSE students are exhibiting at Blue Rock. In drama, Mohawk Trail's spring production was Something Rotten Jr., which showcased students of all ages, and BSE Stage 2 sold-out nights of Shrek the Musical Kids. For sports, our school and community sports programs are designed for all kids, pre-K to 12. At Mohawk Trail, over half of our students participate in athletics every season, which is well above state and national averages. To increase opportunities available for our athletes, we have co-op programs with other schools to offer varsity golf, football, soccer, baseball, Nordic skiing, hockey, and tennis. With these co-ops, we're able to offer almost as many sports opportunities as much larger schools. Our girls' alpine ski team brought home the state championship for the 3rd time in 4 years, and our elementary students are participating on community-based teams that can be found on Mohawk Trail playing fields, playing soccer, and are in our gyms playing basketball under the coordination of our district athletic director, Greg Lilly. So I'm sorry to take so much of your time. I think it's important to give you a complete picture. I hope you will support the district's operating assessment, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
thank you, Ms. Thurber. If anyone has questions, come to one of the microphones, please.
So Phoebe,
Yes?
we have a response.
You have a response?
Yeah.
Yes?
Okay,
Ms.
so
Consolo?
the Finance Committee, I don't know, this Mohawk School
Are
budget.
you responding, I just want to check, you're responding as a committee?
Yes.
Okay, then go ahead and sit from here and do it. Okay.
The Finance Committee does not recommend the Mohawk budget. And so I'm here to say why we don't recommend the Mohawk budget. So many of you know me, I've been on this committee for 20 years. I joined to protect schools. That was like the reason for me to be on the Finance Committee. And Martha's right, I go to all the budget subcommittee meetings, and I've always supported the school budget. This year, however, is different. In the past 20 years, I cannot remember a time when both the Finance Committee and the Select Board voted unanimously not to recommend the school budget. This is a first that we're voting against or asking you to vote against the school budget. Chief among the reasons to vote against the school budget is that we as a town cannot afford it. We simply cannot afford a 9.9% increase to our Mohawk operating assessment. School costs now make up 57% of our budget. Proposition 2.5 means taxes can only go up 2.5%. So it doesn't take a math wizard to see that if school assessments go up 10%, our town budget is in trouble. This year, we reached a tipping point. We are short nearly $400,000, thus the request for $500,000 override to pay the shortfall and hopefully to ready ourselves for more increases in the next couple of years. We on the Finance Committee are aware that the Mohawk District has already made cuts to their budget. However, we're asking for more. I know that sounds drastic, but if our override doesn't pass, and all across the state many overrides are not passing, that means that we will have to cut $500,000 from $3 million. That's all we have. Our schools take up $3.2 million. We have $3 million left, so it'll be $500,000 out of $3 million. Mohawk has a $29 million budget. So I know they already made cuts. Believe me, I go to those meetings. It's really, really painful, but it's a lot less painful to cut $500,000 or $600,000 from that $29 million budget than it's going to be for our towns to cut $500,000 from $3 million. It's bad all the way around. So another reason for voting down the school budget is a lack of adequate school funding. As Martha talked about, it is true, the state of Massachusetts is remiss. Martha and Cheryl Stanton, our superintendent, have worked tirelessly to get the state to pay attention to rural schools. They are at it all the time, and we should all be thanking them because they work really hard at this. So they've made some inroads, we think, but there's been no promise on the state level to change the school funding formula, which is at the heart of our problem. It is a problem shared by districts all across the Commonwealth. We need to send a message to those in power. If towns across the state keep voting to sacrifice the town services in order to fund schools, no one in Boston will pay attention. They have not paid attention. If we vote down school budgets across the states, they'll be forced to listen to us. So I care deeply about schools. I spend so much time, I can't tell you how much time I spend on schools. And I believe the vast majority of you all, of our citizens, do too. But I have to say, voting down the school budget this year is not a vote against education. It's a reality check. It's a vote for the town you know as it is, and it's a cry for action. That's it. I'd like to request that we have a paper ballot for this vote.
Okay. So that doesn't mean that we're stopping talking about the school budget. It's just a request. So now what we need to do is we're voting not on the budget. We're voting on whether, when we decide on this budget, we're going to do that by everybody coming up here and voting with a yes or no slip, and then coming back to your seat. So we're going to a paper ballot, or whether we're going to do it with cards. Okay, so that's the vote we're taking right now. So please, raise your hand, your card, if you're in favor of this being decided as a paper ballot. You are going to have to hold those up for quite a while. Okay. Where are my teller people? Are you counting? Let's see. Well, hang on one second. Put it down, please. And then if you're opposed, raise your cards. So if you want to just vote it. Okay. Well, never mind. You don't have to count. That was a majority. Okay. So when we vote on the school budget, we will vote in a way where you will be called by row. You will come down here. You'll have to have your paper card with you. You're going to get a little check on it. And then you're going to be given a piece of paper that says yes or no. And you're going to pick the yes or the no. And you're going to put it in a bucket. Okay? But first, we want to see if anyone has any other questions or wishes to suggest to your neighbors how you should vote. on that? And if so, you should approach the microphone. And if, yes, you must go to the microphone. Absolutely. Sorry, we're trying to be an age-friendly community where you can hear what's going on in your democracy. Yes, Ms. Dukes.
Cheryl Dukes, Sears Street. So, the issue is structural. From the beginning, school transportation costs have been borne by the towns. No amount of lobbying is going to change that because state legislatures cannot tell future state legislatures what to do. And in the process of enticing school districts to become regionalized many, many, many years ago, we were told school transportation would be paid for. That has never happened. This is a structural issue that will not be solved by combining schools, by any of the sustainability efforts that have been ongoing. I moved here to Buckland 25 years ago, and when I moved here, there was a conversation about combining all of the elementary schools into the high school. And so here we are again. So, I care about schools, I care about other people's children. However, we are in a moment in time where no matter what we do, it will not be enough for us to do in little towns. It is a structural issue, and actually, Paul, I think that we did once vote against the school budget. So I am in favor of voting no for the town school budget. It is a matter of sending a message, as it was indicated. This is not a matter of voting against the school, even though in a way it is. But the school, as a regional district, is its own municipality. And we get the bill, but we have very little say in what happens within the schools because the school committee is connected to and responsible to the school superintendent as opposed to the community.
Thank you.
Actually, it is true.
Okay, we're not going to have back
Well,
and
we're not
forth.
gonna- right.
Nobody speaks unless I recognize you, please.
So, just in terms of, so that is my opinion.
Thank you.
I get to have my opinion based on my observation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Sinclair.
Yes, Janet Sinclair, Ashfield Street. I just wanted to hear from the select board. That's all I was saying. I thank you so much, Finance Committee, for explaining your position, but would the select board be willing also to talk about your recommendation? Thanks.
Thank you. Who would like to speak from the select board? You may, of course, all speak if you would.
The select board pretty much takes the same stance as the finance committee on this matter. All through budget season, we have worked very closely with the finance committee. I know I've had numerous conversations with Mr. Langford. I've been present at as many of the finance committee meetings that I could during the budget season, just seeing all the numbers, but also over the years seeing not just the decline in the schools, but the cost for every town going up. And I personally feel as though something does need to change because something is going to give here at some point. And right now, it's the way things are going. It's going to be the tax base on all of the taxpayers in town, and I believe that this is really the only way to make that statement known to everyone out east, that we're in trouble. And unfortunately, this is the biggest tax burden on every single town, not just ours. So again, my feeling is I think something needs to change on this issue, and I think this is where we're at, and it's the only way that we're going to be heard as a town.
Thank you. All set? Is Mr. Phillips speaking for you? Okay. Anyone? Yes, Mr. Rice.
Try to make it quick. Some information.
Oh, your name and street, sir.
Wesley Rice, Purrington Road.
Thank you.
Some information on what happens next. By that I mean, if we vote to not fund the Mohawk requested amount, there are a lot of other towns in this district that are going to be voting on their shares. Everybody needs to understand what are the steps that will occur if we vote no or if we vote yes.
Thank you. Ms. Thurber, do you want to answer that? What do you? Does one of you?
Sure, I can answer that. So the Mohawk District needs a certain number of votes. I believe it's 10, Martha, right? 10 votes. Each of the larger towns each have 2 votes. Buckland has 2 votes. Ashfield, Plainfield, Shelburne, Heath all have 2 votes. And I missed a town? And Coleraine. All those towns have 2 votes, and Hawley and Charlemont each have 1 vote. So we can vote no, and if all the other towns vote yes, we have to pay this anyway, and that is why it's in the budget. We're counting on, we have to put it down and say we're going to pay it because the other towns might vote yes. If a couple of towns vote no, then Mohawk has to go back to the drawing board and come to us. They could come with the same budget. They could come with a lower budget. We're hoping they would come with a lower budget, and we'd have to vote again in a special town meeting.
Okay, thank you for answering the question. Were you getting up to say something?
Hi, I'm Robin Wilson. I live on South Street. I just wanted to ask a question, actually, when you were saying that this is a moment for towns to vote no on the school budget in order to get the attention of folks out east. I understand that. That makes sense. But in order for it to be a moment, you have to have a lot of momentum. So is this like a common thing for small towns? Are we all voting no at the same time? Because if we vote no and nothing changes, then you know, how many more employees at the school have lost their jobs and how many kids are impacted by that? Like, what's the long-term plan for getting the folks' attention out east? I just feel like, I don't know, that doesn't totally sell for me. But I get it.
Yeah. Ms. Thurber, do you want to speak to whether this is a widespread strategy? Or do you have an answer?
I'm unaware of this being a widespread strategy. I do agree that
you are aware or are unaware?
I am unaware
Unaware.
that this would be a widespread strategy. I also believe that having Buckland vote no on the Mohawk Trail Regional School budget isn't really much of a message to Beacon Hill. If you wanted to do that and you organized this district as a total, the Gateway District, the Pioneer District, the Frontier District, to do the same thing, that would be a message. And what we did was to gather all of those districts and ask them for Rural Schools Action Week to submit information, videos, do a lot of things together, and we got a lot of traction out of districts doing that. But the town of Buckland voting down the Mohawk Trail Regional School District budget is not a message to Beacon Hill. I'm sorry, it just isn't.
Thank you. No. Come on. She answered the question. All right, are there any more questions about the school budget or comments about how we should vote?
Karen Blom, 15 Charlemont Road. So just to be clear on how this process works, if it gets voted down today, it goes back to the school committee and the superintendent to rework. They have to come back by sometime in June. We have an election June 2nd, is it, Alicia? At which point we will be voting on a ballot for the override. So if we pass the override of 500,000, but we're not supporting the school budget, what are we doing with that extra 500,000?
Thank you. I think you missed one step in that, which is they don't have to go back for another budget unless enough towns also vote now. Right. Does anyone here want to say?
We have to pay the assessment.
Right, we'd come back to another town meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we vote it down now and all the other towns vote yes, we have to come back and vote again to fund it.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Over here, yes.
Thank you. I'm Anna D. Ford. I live on Crat Ave. I just have a clarifying question, which is when we voted on I think it was $350,000, there was an increase of 500, sorry, I'm saying it wrong.
For the
house
budget?
value, yeah, it was about a $500 increase per $350,000 value of your house.
Mm-hmm.
My question is that, I guess I'm confused, like, is that just for the increase in operating costs, or is that, like, is there a different increase in our taxes based on saying yes to the school budget?
That's a very good question, and the answer is no.
So that, the increase that we're proposing would cover the Mohawk school budget?
Yes, but that increase that we voted 5 minutes ago also has to be confirmed by all of us at a ballot vote on June 2nd.
Okay.
So if it fails there, then we haven't actually spent that extra money.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but there is not another additional dollar figure that we're voting about right now.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yes, Ms. Consolo.
Just, Karen asked a question, and if we vote down the school budget and all the towns voted for the school budget, we have to pay it. We don't have to come back and vote again. We pay by default.
Okay.
I mean,
We would need to appropriate the money. Yeah. Bob, right. I will say that louder. So the question was, what happens if we vote no, everyone else votes yes? Do we have to come back? And because we have not appropriated the money, right, you can see that in the articles, you have to say where you're getting the money. And if we chose not to allocate that money here tonight, we're going to come back and we're going to allocate it again, but we're not going to have a choice necessarily because everyone else will have already passed the budget. So there is the potential to Ms. Blum's point of coming back. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm C.W. Leach. I live on Prospect Street in Buckland. And I teach 8th grade English down at Frontier. I'm also the president of the union at my school. And I just want to say that, I want to say two things, really. Number one, the school committee is responsible for evaluating the superintendent. The superintendent then is responsible for evaluating the administrators. The administrators are responsible for evaluating the teachers. There is no influence that the superintendent has on the school in general in that way, on the school committee, I should say. The school committee is supposed to watch out for the superintendent. My concern with the budget is that if we choose to vote no on this budget, we have the potential to send a message to Boston. However, as far as I understand, we are one of the only districts that are doing this, one of the only towns of a rural district that are doing this, which means that we have the potential to be the first step on a prisoner's dilemma, where we would be the ones that walk out on the ledge and then we aren't followed by anybody. And we've already lost at Mohawk 6.5 full-time teachers, 14 Unit B employees, and another full-time employee. When you lose good teachers in a district, when you lose programs in a district, programs follow the teachers, it is exceedingly difficult to get them back. They do not just come back. Once you have attrition, once they lose, it is lost. It takes years and years to come back. To put it in current terms, it's like gas prices. They go up quickly. They do not go down quickly. You need to make up the difference in that time after. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Go right ahead.
Hi, Scott McMillan, 2 Charlemont Road. I have a question for the Finance Committee, which is, if we put the message to Beacon Hill aside, part of the main issue, other issue that was raised was that we don't know the outcome of the full vote on the appropriation, right? So we want to make sure that we, if I'm saying this correctly, but we want to make sure that we have we don't know if the money will get voted. So if we vote for the increase to the school budget, if we approve the Mohawk school budget, but we don't have the vote,
the override you're talking about,
vote, then we have to go back to the drawing board on that. Is there any way that this timing could get worked out better in the future? Because that's kind of like, well, maybe we'll get it, maybe we won't, but we have to make a binding decision for ourselves now on the school budget without knowing that. Like, if we could somehow work that out better, that would give us a lot more clarity in the future around these kinds of questions. Because, as we're saying, these questions aren't going to go away.
It'd be lovely, but I think you'd have to change, Proposition 2.5 is like in our Constitution now, or,
Right.
yeah, so that would require, it requires these.
Means we should have our vote closer to the.
Oh, you mean like having the ballot vote before the town meeting? Yeah. So Mr. Dean says that if the select board decided, they could schedule an override first before town meeting, a ballot vote, and then we would come here knowing how it voted, how it passed there.
That would
passed.
be, I mean, there's probably a bunch of ways we could shuffle it. Hopefully there are. I think it would be, knowing that we're going to run into this kind of thing in the future more, it'd be really great if we can make it a smoother path to making like really intelligent decisions in the moment. So thank you.
Thank you. I do know there's at least one town that's doing it that way. Thank you, Mr. McMillan. Yes, sir. Mr. Del Castillo.
Castillo, Upper Street. The recommended override, I presume, is based on the full school assessment because we may have to pay it. What's the impact of the rejection of the school budget on the amount of the override?
Finance Committee? They don't know.
I mean, I don't think we would really know until if we find out that other towns also vote it down and then Mohawk has to come back with a new amount. We wouldn't really know that until that happened.
I think it's important, like, we're concentrating on one end of it. The first reason that I mentioned to vote the budget down is that we simply don't have the money. I mean, 9.9% of 57% of our budget is just more than we can afford. So I just want to reiterate that. It's not that we want to see teachers lose their jobs. It's not that we want to lose programs. It's just we simply don't have the money.
Again, I just want to remind you to please ask to be recognized before speaking. Yes.
Janice Sorensen, Depot Road. Short of firing teachers, what are ways that money could be saved? I mean, how many pencils do you have to lose to make up that shortfall? What would go first?
Ms. Thurber?
Unfortunately, personnel are about 85% of the school budget. So we cut $1 million from what was our initial estimate of a budget. We cut $1 million by looking at other lines, and that wasn't enough. And that's why you end up having to lose personnel, because that's really where the money goes is to teachers and programs.
Thank you. I think we're going to move on to the paper ballot. Oh, do you have something new to?
Oh, I just have a question.
Yep, remind people who you are again.
Oh, sorry, Janet Sinclair, am I recognized? Yes, Ashfield Street. I'm still a little confused. So if if the town says no to this school budget and other towns say no to the school budget, then is there a need for an override vote? That's my question.
I feel like someone else just asked that, and the answer was they don't know.
I'm asking, why wouldn't you know? Because the rest of the budget is all in this little thing. It sounds like the thing that's in question is the increase of the Mohawk budget. And so if the rest of the budget's all sitting there, right, all those line items, then why wouldn't you know? That's what I want to know.
Mr. Langford.
We do know that regardless of how this plays out, we would be liable for this year's assessment, that $3.1 million.
If it goes to a 1/12.
If it went to a 1/12.
Yeah.
Mr. Dean, do you want a microphone? I feel like it's not clear.
So there's a few scenarios here, and Martha could answer this as well.
Remind people who you are and where you're from.
I'm Bob Dean from Elm Street on the Finance Committee.
Thank you.
We could vote for the budget as presented. If it gets voted down tonight, we will have to come back to a special town meeting to appropriate some amount of money, and we will have to appropriate at least the amount that is being paid this year. Because if it goes past July 1st, then it goes to what's called the 1/12 budget until there's a budget for the whole district that gets put in place. So that's the bottom line. So we are going to have to come back to vote something if it gets voted down tonight. So.
The question, I think, was, will we still need an override?
Yes.
Yes, okay. The answer is yes. Okay.
Okay, Horace Taft, Martin Road. I take your point about wanting to send a message. I also hear Martha's skepticism of that. What concerns me is we just voted unanimously for an override that funds the school at this level. We now, oh, we didn't. Okay, so they're separate. So, but the override has the school budget in it, correct?
I mean, we just voted for a budget,
We just
which
voted
we
for the
couldn't
budget.
afford if the override doesn't pass. No, but you voted a budget that you didn't cut to make room for the schools. You voted a budget that included the override.
Okay, and going back to the earlier question about whether or not there's another levy, the levy we just authorized funds Mohawk at what level? It doesn't. Okay.
That wasn't part of that.
Okay.
We're now on the Mohawk budget, which is
A separate article. Okay, thank you. When we vote on June 2nd, is it one line item or two?
That's one.
That's one. Okay.
When we vote on June.
Okay.
Okay. Does everybody get it? Yes. Oh, wait a minute. Since you've already spoken once, we're going to go here and then we'll go there.
I'm sorry, I just have to, Marie Dunford, Rand Road. The override you mentioned, that would be $550 per person for $350 or per household. That would cover the budgets as they are now, including the Mohawk Trail budget. That is the override we discussed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Dukes?
Cheryl Dukes, Sears Street. So I just have a question for Finance and the Select Board in relation to the no vote on the school budget. And my question is, was the no an opportunity for this community to understand what is happening with the financial situation in relation to school budgets and our ability to afford them now and moving forward into the future, to have a conversation?
You're asking, was that the purpose of the
Was
of
that
their
the
no vote?
purpose of the no, of the of the select board and the finance committee to vote no, not recommending funding the school budget in order to let everybody know what the situation is and to have a conversation about that.
Mr. Phillips?
That is a big part of it. You know, this year we're looking at a $300 and some odd thousand increase in the school. A $500,000 override is would support that this year. What happens next year when we have another $330,000 increase? The $500,000 that we're voting on this year is not going to cover that again next year. So we'll be right back in this boat. So I guess my big question to everybody that has a say in this is, when does it stop? I understand that, you know, people don't want to be the first one off the ledge. But we are, I believe as a town, we're already on that ledge. Just as Paula said, you know, we can't afford it. And it's showing.
Thank you. I'm going to ask for the answer from the Finance Committee, get your question, and then we're going to do the paper ballot. I don't think people are probably having a lot of questions that haven't been answered yet. So what is the answer from the Finance Committee? Was the no vote to have this?
I have to agree with Cliff. Yes, that's part of it. I mean, I took note that our growth in this town, 2.5% is 129,000. Our growth, 2.5% is 129,000. Our growth was 70,000. So our levy can only go up $199,000. But our school budget went up 330,000, something like that. So like you can see, it's just out of whack. I mean,
okay. Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Miss Kelsey, William Street. This might be one of the most important votes tonight. Thank you, Paula, for making it a ballot vote. I think that gives relief for the neighbors. Your neighbor sitting beside you on your street will not know how you vote. And I'm going to recommend maybe in future town meetings that we put a limit onto the limit of time that speakers can speak. Thank you.
We are tracking you all, and no one's gone over the 3 minutes. Yeah.
Yes, 3 minutes. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes,
I didn't realize
yes.
that.
Thank you. Ms. Donlin, I did just say that was the last comment, so unless you have something markedly new.
Andrea Donlin, Upper Street. Two people asked basically the same question and got the opposite answers, so I'm really confused. And I don't know if I'm the only confused person, but I think there's a couple confused people. Page 23 has this sort of undetailed or semi-detailed budget, and it has the town operating expenses of $2.7 million and the Mohawk operating budget of $3.29 million. That adds up to $6.8 million at a $500,000 deficit. So this is the budget that asks for the $500,000 override.
Yes.
The question came up if we voted down the school district budget, or if it failed generally amongst the towns, the school district comes back with a lower budget. That means our budget overall goes down, and it wouldn't be a $500,000 deficit.
Correct, but
That's correct.
So what is the number that would be at the vote on June 2nd? Is that what you're asking?
Well, not so much, but you said that the school budget wasn't part of the $500,000 override.
No,
I think that's...
I think what is confusing here is that the first thing we did was vote on a budget that assumed that we would have to pay the Mohawk amount and without dramatic cuts would require an override. So they could have brought a budget here that said, no transfer station, no libraries, no whatever. Okay, good, we can pass our budget. But they didn't. They brought us a budget that in order to afford the budget as represented here, it will require the override. So these
Okay.
two things go together.
Well, we just voted for a 10.4% increase in the town budget, and the Mohawk budget is a 9.8% override. If the whole district votes for the budget, and then when we go to the ballot vote in June and we do not vote, if the override fails, that forces us to cut the town budget, right? Only.
Correct.
Okay. And if we if the whole district votes the school budget down, the school has to. There's no like, let's both work together to, I mean, that was what has already happened, is let's both work to keep our expenses down.
Yeah, the timing is bad.
Right. Okay, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know why why the town budget also went up by quite a bit, and it wasn't modest increase at all. But we've already voted on that. I think it might have made sense to do the school budget first, but that's what happened. Okay,
It's already over.
now I feel a little more clear on what we're voting for.
Thank you. Okay, so here's what's going to happen, folks. You are going to, Finance Committee, we need your table. So if you could sit here in the front row, that would be awesome. You're going to be called by one of these tellers to come down by row, okay? You're going to come down here. You're going to get a little check mark on your card, and you're going to be given a yes/no piece of paper. If you're voting yes, you're voting for the Mohawk Trail Regional School District assessment. If you're voting no, you're voting against it. And just talk amongst yourselves. It's going to be a little chaotic, but we'll get through it. Okay. All right. This all goes over here, right?
I believe Ashley passed it too. But we've got two big towns.
Who's calling the people down by row? Okay, Dina and Ben. Okay, they're going to start over here, and people are going to come this way. Okay. Somebody said she's going to check them off and have you take the yes, no. Yeah. Okay. So we're starting with that section. Okay. Don't you want to be behind this? Okay. Okay, the first section is coming up. Correct. So when you get called up here, you'll get a little check on your voting card. That shows that you voted, and you'll be given a yes, no. You rip it in half. You put this way you wish to vote on the school budget in the little box, and you throw out the rest in the trash can. And obviously, we will need to count these when we're done. In the meantime, you have the town report, which has lots of helpful information in it. Like what the senior center and the solid waste district have been up to. Hey, we need more people, please, tellers. Can you, Ben, get another row of people? All right, we just need there to be no gaps in the voting, please, Ben. Okay. Okay. Come on out, you people that are standing up. Come on.
Takes me a while. I'm a little slow.
I'll give you your All right. Excellent job.
They'll say that when I walk in BJ's. We see she's getting the door on. I know a lot of them. And she'll say, "You were alone today. She trusts you." I says, "I have a list. I'll just show her a piece of paper." And then someone wants to get everything on your list. I says, "Even more." She says, "Oh." look Yeah, but you're gonna have a big foundation to hold up a fine woman.
Oh, thanks, Larry.
You're welcome. Give me any points. And then you get Gina. Gina can't find shoes because
She's got tiny shoes.
yeah, size 5. So then, here's the hilarious part. We go in the shoe store. She tries things on, and she finds out there's just one particular brand, Clark's. Clark's fit her perfectly. They haven't done any of my mother one. So she went in there and tried to bunch it. I'm like, gosh, you're perfect. So she orders them online now. Yeah, because she
I have a
ordered.
friend of mine who works for Clark.
Yeah, she ordered something and thought that they were right because she's trying to, and no, and it didn't work out right. Yeah, I said, honey, let's go to the Clark place. In Marlboro, there's a huge one. Well, it's not actually Marlboro, it's off there, but huge mall. It's incredible. It's like, I can't walk around and take a week with their life. And they got some tremendous stores. And stores for cheap people like me, too. Clark's was very nice. And the access price, all the shoes are $10,000.
Yeah,
That's really reasonable. But they're good shoes. They last her for a long time. No.
We're getting close.
Almost not up to go home. No, I tried to open that door and it's locked. I'm like, oh, I'm taking the hint.
You're locked in.
I'm taking the hint.
Yeah, you're locked in.
Oh, you mean you were,
That's not like you.
These are my up close glasses.
Usually you're a couple rows away.
No, they all did it. Okay, has everybody voted? No, we already voted. All right, we got, tellers are voting, and everyone who was here when the vote began has voted, yes? Okay. We thank you for your patience. Like I said at the beginning, democracy is messy, and we're practicing it. So we're going to let the tellers and town clerk, the tellers, count the votes, and we're going to move on to the next few articles, and we'll come back and tell you how that one turned out. So we are now on Article 7. Do you guys need this table and need the Finance Committee to stay back there? You're going to use over there? Okay. All right. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for the Mohawk Regional School District capital assessment.
Ms. Moderator?
Yes,
I
Mr.
move that
Phillips.
the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $60,457 for the Mohawk Trail Regional School District capital assessment for fiscal year 2027 as a line item appropriation.
Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded, and we are voting on just the capital projects, and those are on, I believe, let's see. Nope, I don't know where they are, so don't listen to me. You can see that it's $60,000. Okay, are there any questions about the capital assessment? Ms. Thurber.
I just want to, the reason for this is that this is for debt that we have already approved, and this is the debt service on already approved borrowings. So there's nothing new here. It's just annual debt service.
This is just the usual annual, not a new one. Okay. Okay, all those in favor of Article 7, raise your card. Okay. All those opposed? Okay. Article 8 is about the Franklin County Tech School operating assessment. Different school, operating assessment.
Ms. Moderator?
Yes, Mr. Phillips.
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $332,955 for the Franklin County Tech School operating assessment for fiscal year 2027 as a line item appropriation.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. On our fancy blue chart here on page 25, you can see the education section in the middle, and you can see the tech school operating budget, right? And it shows you all the same columns we talked about earlier. So right in the middle of page 25. Is there anyone who wishes to ask a question about the tech school operating assessment or encourage a vote one way or the other? If so, please approach the microphone. Yes, sir? Yes? Yes. 1 second.
Marie Dunford,
Oh.
Rand Road. I noticed that the Select Board and Finance Board also do not recommend. Is that for the same reasons? And if we vote for this, does the override that we already have been discussing, where it would be $550 per household, is this also factored into that?
Yes and yes. Sir, were you?
Yeah, Adam Griffin, 62 Ashfield Road. Yeah, I don't have a question. I am the Buckland School Committee rep for Franklin Tech. I've been in the role for about a year and a half, and I think traditionally our superintendent would be here to talk about the school and give an update, but in the essence of time, I'll not go into too much detail, but I'll just be here for questions.
Thank you. Nice to meet you after appointing you to this job. You can say something if you want, but you're here for questions. Okay, does anyone have any questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Gang.
Jeff Gang, Upper Street. This is probably for you. How many students from Buckland go to Franklin Tech, and maybe tell us a little about what they're learning there?
Yeah, sure.
The question, I'm sorry, Adam. The question was, how many people from Buckland go to school there, and what are they learning?
Yep, thanks. So on page 16 in the blue book, you'll see the enrollment, current enrollment, but total is 579 students. Buckland has 23 allotted spots for enrollment at Franklin Tech. Yeah, again, I guess just to try to not use up too much time here, but on page 15, I would encourage you to read through the whole report here. But on page 15, you'll see the list of the vocational programs that are offered by Franklin Tech, ranging from aviation to carpentry to electrical, cosmetology, culinary, really a wide range, not a technical school that's dedicated to one area. So, and I guess just speaking on the budget, you heard Martha talk about the challenges going on here with Mohawk. Very similar challenges. At Franklin, we had to put the pencil, our administration had to put the pencil on the paper pretty hard this year to try to limit the increases. But the insurance is really where we saw the biggest hit this year. Just doing some quick math before, but the line items related to insurance, one was 35% increase, another was 29%, and the other was 14% increase. So, we're exploring, our administration's exploring some alternatives for our insurance agent, but that was the big one this year. But our overall budget increase was about 3% this year. So yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Are there any other questions about Article 8, the tech school operating assessment?
Andrea Donlin, Upper Street. Since it says that the Select Board and Finance Committee do not recommend the approval of this article, I was wondering if it was the same rationale as for the Mohawk District, or if there was something different going on.
A previous questioner asked that, and the answer was yes. That's okay. It's a little chaotic in here. All right. All those in favor of Article 8, please raise your card. Okay. All those opposed to Article 8, raise your card.
You have to count.
We are going to have to count. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, yeah, I think you're going to have to count. All right, counters, count. No, you people who have your hands up, you are the opposed, correct? All right, keep them up and stretch them up high. And who are my counters? Do you not? Okay. Don't forget the people up here. Do you want to come up here and give me numbers? Keep your hands up, people. You can go, yeah, you need a little Pilates music. You can go up and down just a little bit for isometric exercises, but you can't put them down. Okay, what do we got? 63, okay. Raise your hand if you were in favor of the tech school assessment. Do you not have a card? Do you want to be there? Okay, so the Franklin County Tech School operating assessment fails. Not unanimously. And then going back to the Article 6 of the Mohawk Trail Regional School District assessment, that also failed on a vote of 88 to 65. We are moving on to Article 9, the Franklin County Tech School capital assessment. I will entertain a motion for said article. Yeah. You can move that the town vote to raise and appropriate Franklin County Tech School capital assessment as written in the document.
I got it. Ms. Moderator.
Yes.
Move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,882 for the Franklin County Tech School capital assessment for fiscal year 2027 as line item appropriation.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded, and assuming there are no questions about a $5,000 article, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand if you support it. Raise your card. Okay. And you can put it down. All those opposed to the tech school capital? Okay, it passes. It is not unanimous. Article 10 is about tuition and transportation for Smith Vocational School.
Ms. Moderator.
Yes, sir.
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $32,000 for tuition and transportation of students to Smith Vocational and Agricultural High School for fiscal year 2027 as a line item appropriation.
Motion has been made and seconded, and before someone asks, how many students do we have at the Smith Voc? One. Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions about the tuition and transportation for Smith Voc? Hearing none. All those in favor, please raise your card. Okay. All right, thank you. All those opposed? Okay, the article passes and is not unanimous. We are moving on to Article 11, which is about the budget for the Shelburne Falls Wastewater Treatment Facility. And just a reminder that if you don't get your, if you're not connected to the wastewater treatment plant, you're not paying this. So we are the fiscal home for this system, but if you live in Upper Buckland, for instance, you're not going to pay this thing that we're voting on right now. Okay.
Ms. Moderator.
Yes, sir.
I move that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $430,442 to fund the operation and maintenance of the Shelburne Falls Wastewater Treatment Facility for fiscal year 2027.
Thank you. You don't have to keep going after that. You don't have to do the whole thing. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Since everyone's looking at it and I just said that. Okay, motion has been made and seconded about the wastewater treatment facilities budget. Does anyone have any questions about it? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your card. All right. All those opposed, raise your card. The article passes unanimously. Okay, and Article 12 is about the capital and debt expenses for the wastewater treatment plant. And you can see on page 27 what those are, but you can also see that it says grant match and stair replacement project.
Ms. Moderator.
Yes, sir.
I move that the town vote and appropriate the sum of $40,000 for capital expense for the Shelburne Falls Wastewater Treatment Facility.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Any questions about the capital projects at the wastewater treatment plant? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your card. Okay. Put them down. All those opposed? Okay. The article passes unanimously. The next article we already did in the consent agenda, and then we're on to Article 14, which is town capital expenses to be purchased with free cash. These are things that we're planning to buy.
Ms. Moderator,
Yes, Mr.
move that the town vote to appropriate from free cash the sum of $185,000 to be placed in departmental capital accounts in accordance with the table below.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded, and you can see it's about a highway truck loan repayment, repaving, and some improvements to the museum. Are there any questions about this article? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your card. Okey doke. Put them down. All those opposed? Article passes. It is unanimous. We did the town debt service in our consent article, as well as the post-employment benefits. We are going to be taking no action on Article 17 because we put that in here in case there were bills from a previous year, because believe it or not, no matter how small the bill, we got to vote on it if it's from a previous fiscal year, but shout out to Town Hall, there are none. Okay. Article 18 is about savings accounts our town sets up to plan for future expenses. Would someone like to make a motion?
Moderator?
Yes, Mr.
Move that the
Phelps.
town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $119,944 and appropriate from free cash the sum of $153,850 to the town stabilization funds in accordance with the table below.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded, and you can see, I hope in the chart, exactly how much is going into each of the stabilization accounts. Does anyone have any questions about them? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor of Article 18, please raise your hand. Okay, your card. Okay, all those opposed to the stabilization accounts? Okay, the article, you two people who just put your hands down, are you being opposed or are you just slow to get your hand down? Okay. Opposed, all right, the article passes and is not unanimous. Thank you. All right. That is the end of our business tonight. I would like to remind everybody that there is an election on June 2nd from 10 to 8 p.m. which is a necessary step to passing that override that we just talked about, that budget that we just passed for our town government, for the general government. What happens next with the school budget remains to be seen based on what happens at all the other towns. So you will get an email, you will get one of those robocalls. If you are not getting those emails and robocalls, it's because you haven't done the thing on the back of your voting card. So flip that over and make sure you're on that list. And Mr. Rice has something to say to get us out the door.
Thank all those people sitting up front.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rice.
And the question, I didn't catch the numbers. Can you give us the numbers on the Mohawk?
88 no, 65 yes.
Okay, and the tech school, please?
Wait a minute. 63 no and 51 yes.
61.
63 no and 51 yes. Yep. And I will entertain a motion to dissolve this town meeting. Anyone?
So moved.
Okay, any seconds?
Second.
Say aye if you're in favor.
Aye.
We get to say aye instead of just raise our card. Thank you very much. This was a hard meeting and you were patient and you asked really good questions and I am proud to be associated with you all. Yeah, please dump your cards on the door on the way out. Well, they have checks on them.